when you paint, you're absolutely focused. It's like skiing down a tough run or something. You are focused, and if you're not, you're going to fall on your face. And if you're not focused when you're painting, you're not going to have a good painting. But I still get a thrill when I look at an absolutely blank sheet of white paper and realize that somehow I can put a painting on there that expresses what I happen to care about, especially landscapes. It's very exciting. I love painting, but my first love is hiking, backpacking, being out in the wilderness. I mean, that's what it's all about. Hopefully, I bring that into my paintings, and somehow I'd like to think that I can turn people on by my experiences in the wilderness. They can somehow experience a little of it and feel the passion to save the land that I feel. Well, I'm a native Coloradoan. I'm sort of an endangered species. I grew up in Denver. My father was in business. My mother was a homemaker. And we lived, a nice little suburban life. My great uncle was Buffalo Bill Cody. And my father was Buffalo Bill's nephew. And he traveled all over Europe. He was the accountant for the Wild West show. And he knew Buffalo Bill very well. My mother was a teetotaler, and Uncle Bill used to tip the bottle a bit. And my mother didn't approve of him, so she kind of put Buffalo Bill in a closet.
But young Dottie and Buffalo Bill were kindred spirits.
My parents were very conservative, very proper people, and sometimes I feel I don't quite belong to them. But I have an aunt here. She was my mother's sister, and I spent a lot of time with her. She was basically my second mother, my more liberal mother. Her take on things was so different from my parents, who didn't get involved, whereas my aunt, who was in Washington where the action was, she said, we got to change this, we got to do this. And I think maybe that's where my activism began.
After high school in Denver, she graduated from Colorado College with a degree in fine art, but soon realized she needed more training in order to make a living.
I went to New York, went to art school, and stayed on and did fashion illustration in New York.
Shortly into her career, Dottie married Revel Fox, a Navy man, who immediately shipped out for a 2-year stint in the South Pacific. Upon his return, they settled in Colorado and began raising 4 kids. By then, Dottie had had enough of city life.
We lived in Denver, but then we moved to Boulder, and I knew that I wanted to get closer to the mountains. I loved Aspen from the first time I saw it, when I first came up here to ski before we ever lived here.
With her child-rearing years behind her, life began again in Aspen. She volunteered for the P&Z, built an energy-efficient home, and met her soulmate, Mary Pope, who shared her interest in nature. It was inevitable that she would also find friends at the Aspen Wilderness Workshop.
I'd heard about the workshop, and I knew that was something I cared about, so that I immediately contacted them, and I said, I want to know what you're doing. I want to help.
She joined forces with Joy Caudill and Connie Harvey. Together, this power trio hiked almost every trail in our backcountry with the intention of identifying and preserving lands under the National Wilderness Act.
I cared about the land, I cared about the trees, the air, the water, the vegetation, And if you care about those things, you're willing to go to bat for it.
Her enthusiasm for the West, her charm, and her tenacity helped Joy Caudill and Connie Harvey complete a heroic task.
People have said, "Why did you do it?" And I said, we did it because we cared about it. We cared about the land. We didn't want roads up there. We didn't want ATVs. We didn't want chainsaws. We didn't want the signs of civilization on that beautiful, pristine land. I mean, it's a no-brainer. This whole country was wilderness, and now we have our little bits and pieces. But fortunately, we have a big hunk of it right around Aspen.
Joy, Connie, and Dottie are recognized for securing wilderness designation for 500,000 acres of wild Colorado lands.
When I hike up there and backpack, I think, hey, we did this. You know, we and a lot of other people. But if someone hadn't stepped up to the front, it could be totally different.
Their wilderness workshop has become a model for land preservation across the country. And the Aspen community will benefit from Dottie Fox's visionary work for generations to come.